Welcome back to the United Pubcast, the podcast of the official Man United Supporters Club here for, I don't know what to call this, Larry. Is it a post-season review of the last game against Crystal Palace, or is it a celebration of Erik ten Hag's first interview? Because obviously everyone has just watched part one of Erik ten Hag's first interview, and I'm sure we're all in love with the Dutchman, but we all sort of went through an emotional 24 hours watching football in Manchester United, and thank God Manchester City finally did the job. But talk me through the last 24 hours and obviously the last 24 minutes when the Dutchman finally has spoken.
Look, Tom, last season's in the past. I'm someone who likes to look forward. I live in the present. I don't dream, as Erik ten Hag says. So I'm just going to look forward. I'm going to live in the moment. And in the moment, Erik ten Hag has gotten me excited. I'm convinced we're going to win the treble, and I'm just going to roll with that.
Well, we don't need to win the treble, Larry, because that is ours. Some stupid club somewhere that they were talking about. They weren't even talking about the treble. They were talking about a quadruple. Don't know what they were drinking, but the treble does remain a part of Manchester United history. But I'd say good day to some legends in the live chat. If you are tuned in, please do leave a like on the video if you are happy that Ten Hag has been finally announced. And obviously Van der Gaag and Steve McLaren are also just announced a little bit before. But we'll say good day to a few people. Dion, always good to see you, mate. Rob as well here, got me hook, line and sinker. Welcome, Erik, all the best, which is what I said at the start. Whatever our thoughts are in regards to the Glazers and the board, as soon as Erik ten Hag is there and opens his mouth, we fall for it as fans, and everyone is the same, and rightly so. Vin, good to see you as always, mate. Justin here from the Supporters Club, just finished watching the interview. Really excited to see what Erik ten Hag can do. All sounds positive and feels like major change is coming. And Josh, as always, even though it's never been so relieved that the season is over, bring on the tour. Well, definitely, as we said, Erik ten Hag, one of his first games will obviously be in Melbourne. They've obviously got the game, I think, in Singapore a little bit earlier than that. But we will be there for one of his first matches. And, absolutely can't wait, because told me that 24 hours ago, Larry, or less than 24 hours ago, when Manchester United were stumbling over the finish line of this season. I was not positive, but here he comes with a few nice words, and that does change the mood. So where do you want to start on this? We will go through one or two things he has spoken about in the interview. But obviously there was a football match and a dramatic end to the Premier League season. Where do you want to start, mate?
Yeah, focusing on Erik ten Hag, I think is a good place for us to start, because it does look, in what's been such a disappointing season. I think all we can do is hope and look forward. And I think Erik ten Hag, while a few cliches were in there, I have to say I was highly impressed by his demeanor. He doesn't strike me as someone who's overly exuberant. It looks like someone who acknowledges the mountain he has to climb in terms of the challenges in front of him. I like the confidence, Tom. I like the way he presents himself. There's an assuredness about him. If you can think back to when Solskjaer was first interviewed, when he was given the job on an interim basis, very excited, very upbeat, very Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. In terms of Ten Hag, though, I think he's past all that. He's not getting fazed by it. I think he's determined. I like that he already said preseason starts 27th of June, much earlier than previous seasons. He acknowledges what he needs to do. And he spoke about, I'm impressed, he name dropped. Look, it's a small touch. He mentions names like Busby. He mentions names like Charlton. He doesn't have to do that. Mourinho didn't mention those things. But, he knows what he needs to do. So I'm excited by that.
I've just seen him out here. I've taken issue with his pronunciation of the word strategy. I didn't hear that one. I'll have to go back. I'll probably watch the interview again a few times. And he obviously does have his press conference a little bit later. But I just want to throw this to you, Larry, as well, which is what I sort of discussed a little bit before we went on air. Hell on Wheels here saying proper scripted MUTV interview if there ever was one. But I applaud Erik ten Hag for his answers. And that is what I am much more looking for. Which I did like the interview, but I much prefer the press conference where he has to face the media, because every manager gives a perfect first interview with Man United, absolutely thrown absolute softballs by, and rightly so, because it's through the club's media department. But do you think, you talk about his demeanour there and the way he answered the questions, which I fully agree with, I expect the same, but do you expect the same in regards to when he does face the media and the questions are a little bit more sort of from not left field, but a little bit more demanding of him?
I think he might give us a soundbite or two. I wouldn't be surprised. I think, like I said, there's a confidence about him, but from what I'm seeing, again, just first impressions, but they do last. Guy's got balls, and I don't think he'll be afraid to call out some players. And I like that, at least even in an MUTV setting, not afraid to say things like, I demand we work hard. We need to win more than the competitors. because they're going to be highly motivated, over-motivated for versing us. We need to be more motivated than them. I think he won't be afraid to call it. And look, he's going to get asked questions about this season. Obviously, he's going to come out with the cliches. I'm here to focus on next season, last seasons in the past, etc. So it will be interesting. We'll see. I definitely will watch the presser with intrigue, but he's about to learn how big this club is real quick, isn't he? And we'll get a good glimpse of that in the presser.
Definitely. I like this one from Man needs to come out and say, I'll knock Liverpool off their perch. That's a way to get a statue outside Old Trafford at the moment. But speaking of that, you talk about Erik ten Hag having a fair set of balls on him, Larry. I'll tell you what he does have. He has patience, because he sat through 90 minutes of football last night. And fair play to him, because I was here watching on the other side of the world in the comfort of my couch, and I was watching Manchester City more than Man United for maybe the wrong reasons, in terms of I had to make sure Man City got over the line. But there was a football match, and we'll discuss the whole Premier League situation in a little bit. But Manchester United, again, I don't know what our score predictions were before them. I'm pretty sure I predicted a loss and predicted a subpar performance, and it's exactly what we got. Not a surprise, result-wise or performance-wise. Just talk to me, because, God, it was such a dramatic day, and now it's a positive spin on the end of the day. But that 90 minutes from Man United was exactly why we are in the position we're in.
It was absolutely awful. Defensive performance. Like, again, I'm sick of saying all this. The goal we concede, that's football fundamentals. It's a winger on a fullback. He beats the fullback. He hit the same move he did to Diogo Dalot. Zaha does the exact same move to Lindelof. Put the guy on his left foot, please. He doesn't even have a left foot. He's the most one-footed player there is. And they both get beaten.
It's not you're completely right in regards to the defensive aspect of that. The issue for the goal with me is Bruno Fernandes. And look, I've played in midfield before, and the worst thing you want as a midfielder, the last thing you want to do is go and collect a throw-in. It's a horrible feeling, because you're going straight towards the ball. You don't know what's behind you, and you want to take a touch, but you know you're going to get tackled. You think, if I lay the ball back to the thrower, it puts him in a bad position. So I've been in that position so many times, and one of the ball, you always have an out ball. You think if it's a good throw, it comes about knee height or hip height, I can turn a volley over my shoulder to the opposite fullback. And before, I think it might have been Alex Tellez had the throw-in. I forget who had the throw-in, but as soon as he saw Bruno, I could see Bruno had no option, and it was the only option for Bruno. But I could see Zaha or whoever reading that ball. And before even Bruno saw the throw-in come, I said, don't play this, Bruno, don't play this, don't play this. The throw comes in, Bruno hooks it over his shoulder, and the rest is history. I kind of laughed when the ball went in, because it sort of sums up Bruno Fernandes' form in recent weeks. And he obviously comes out. We'll come up to a social media post he has sort of put out in the last hour. But look, I thought the defense was woeful, sort of individually, in regards to, there was one incident with Victor Lindelof, who was attacking a corner. He had a free header, and he just refused to jump. It was just an effort thing. The ball came in, he just, not for me today, and just didn't jump. And I thought that was really poor from him. I thought the fullbacks defensively struggled. Harry Maguire, I assume, had a poor game. I can't really sort of remember too many instances, but maybe that was off the back of me watching more of the Manchester City game. But yeah, the fault for me was with Bruno Fernandes in regards to that goal. But before we move on to sort of more Premier League issues in Manchester City and Liverpool, and sort of tie it back into Erik ten Hag, any other Manchester United related issues in regards to the pitch?
I mean, Bruno's so wasteful in possession. I mean, look, I've come on here and I've been an advocate, defender of him. And I still will be, because there are fans out there who will tell you sell Bruno Fernandes, which is just absolutely mad to me. But I think what will be really interesting about Erik ten Hag is, if you haven't watched Ajax, even if you go YouTube scouting on him, high intensity, high press, but they keep the ball and they play from the back. So I'll be really interested. How does he refine Bruno's game, simplify Bruno's game? Because I think Bruno, if he can learn to have a better pass selection, world-class midfielder.
Well, you just wanted to touch on one more thing from Bruno, but George, he brings up every team scored a goal yesterday except us. I didn't see that, but that doesn't surprise me, George. And not only that, but 0 goal difference. Unbelievable. I don't know whether to celebrate that it's not in negative.
Goals conceded, Tom.
Oh, look, I know. I'm definitely not celebrating it, but thank God it wasn't -1. But it's just as bad, obviously. Just on that Bruno point and a bit of news, and look, I don't want to sort of bore everyone with this. I'll get into the 3-2-1s or potential 3-2-1s in a second there, Josh. But in regards to Bruno Fernandes, and you talk about how wasteful he is with the ball, a little bit of news that came out during the week. I don't want to bore everyone with my One Matter sort of appreciation. However, it came out that One Matter sort of hasn't put a sort of end to his time at Manchester United, and he's willing to have a discussion with Erik ten Hag. And I made the point here before Erik ten Hag was even announced, was going to walk into that dressing room and say, why the hell is this guy walking out the door for free? And why have you been playing him out of position for the last couple of years? Now, I still think putting money on it, they'll have a conversation and they'll agree that it's best for both parties to move on. However, when Erik ten Hag is watching that at Selhurst Park and he sees that wastefulness from Bruno Fernandes in the number 10 area, and he sees One Matter how careful he is with the ball, talk to me. Am I clinging to a little bit or...
Let it go, Tom. I mean, I like Juan Mata, but I think under this new direction, we simply need to move on. Juan Mata shouldn't be part of a rebuild. He should be enjoying his football. And
but we're in the Europa League. Yeah. You look at the players we're leaving. Mason Greenwood's not going to be there. Edison Cavani's not going to be there. Jesse Lingard, Paul Pogba, Anthony Martial. We don't know what's going to happen with Donny van der Beek. Obviously, he's going to come back, but what position does he take up? I'm just thinking, in this rebuild, you need players in the Europa League. We're not going to sign all the rumours at the moment are fullbacks, centre-backs, centre defensive midfielders, strikers. We're not buying any sort of attacking midfielders. And if Bruno Fernandes isn't the answer, it's all well and good. Who are we going to play? Shoretire? Is he going to be the next number 10 for Man United? Is Hannibal going to be the next number 10? Look, I sit here agree. It's best for both parties to move on. However, as a manager, Erik ten Hag walking in there, he's going to cling on to what he can.
I'd say give some of those kids a chance. I mean, we saw Mabry play today. He's not a winger. He's a midfielder. So, if you're talking about Europa League and rotation, I mean, we're only going to see how good these kids are if they get a genuine opportunity in the first team. You and I are both fans of Dylan Levitt, who keeps the ball well. Debut game in Europe, I don't care against what opposition, in the Europa League, completes 100 passes. Get out of here, mate. Oh. You know what I mean? I just think James Garner's proven himself this season, proven himself as much as he possibly could do. He's 2 years on the run in the championship. So I don't think we just have to purely look at signings coming in. I think you can look within the club and give some of these kids an opportunity. For me, Mabry, Garner, maybe Levitt just in the bracket below that. I think at least those two players can definitely have a shout in terms of midfield.
Well, it'll be interesting. Definitely just on that 3-2-1s. I don't think it's worth it. I just looked at the ladder in regards to 3-2-1s. It's not going to change anything. I think one potential play, someone might go from 6th to 5th. It's not going to change anything at the top end of the table. So just off the back of things, we're not going to award any 3-2-1s, or are you desperate to throw some points out there?
I mean, it's very uninspiring performance.
To be fair, I watched more of Manchester City than the United game, to be fair.
Look, if United cancelled their awards night, then as far as I'm concerned, 3-2-1s isn't on today. Can we actually talk about, though, seriously, just as a neutral, bloody scintillating watching the title drama? It really was. It really was. And Manchester City, 3 goals in 8 minutes, was it? Phenomenal. Gerrard lets it slip twice.
Well, I'll put that on Twitter. It's one thing, look, there's no doubt and there's no hiding from the position where you're in on and off the pitch. We have no right, well, we do have a right, but we have no right really to be laughing at oppositions. In terms, we have to look in our own backyard. But I will take great joy, Larry, in knowing deep down in my heart that Steven Gerrard has cost Liverpool 2 Premier League titles. Like that fills me with absolute joy, knowing that he let it slip after he made it about himself, because there's this narrative around Steven Gerrard that this is one club man. There's one club man who played for LA Galaxy as well, by the way. He didn't just play for Liverpool. That he's always put the team ahead of him. But that huddle the week before he slipped wasn't about the team. That was about him seeing the cameras and being good old sort of Stevie me, letting it slip a week later, and then being 2-0 up against Manchester City. And letting it slip, what he take Philip Coutinho off after he put them 2-0 up, takes Coutinho off, and just sort of says, okay, I'll park the bus. Why are you going to park the bus against Manchester City, who will throw in the absolute kitchen sink at you when you can pick them off on the break? And, well, that's my bit of a Steven Gerrard rant, but as you say, what a 90 minutes it was, because Wolves did their part to sort of spoil the party early on. They take the lead. Aston Villa go 2-0 up. It looks like Liverpool will eventually knock that door down and they get back into the lead. And, look, it doesn't trump that Aguero moment for them. I don't think it does. Well, obviously it doesn't. But my God, it ran it close, and you never thought you'd sort of run that close again if you're a City fan.
I got to be honest. Watching City secure the comeback, and you see the euphoria that their fans are in. You can't tell me it doesn't fill you with envy. It honestly, I miss that feeling. I haven't felt that sort of high watching United since the Europa League final. You and I were together at the Star that night. And the Liverpool players were actually in the other room, if you remember.
To be fair, yes, Steven Gerrard came down to the casino. They were obviously playing in Sydney the night before, and they had a section sort of put aside for Liverpool players because they were obviously jet lagged, so they were going to be up at 4 or 5 in the morning. And they came down, wanted to watch the match, and Gerrard got told go quickly back upstairs because there's too many Man United fans. So that was a great morning. And just on that, because I don't know what to make of it. Okay, it's better than the Aguero. It's not as good as the Aguero moment for them. But in regards to the way they, I don't know what the word is. The title was over. Liverpool had won it. When Coutinho put that ball in, the City players spoke about it. Pep Guardiola's facial expression showed it. That was the title over. Liverpool had, I know Liverpool drawing at the time, but Liverpool need 1 goal to win the title. Manchester City needed 3. And look, I don't want to give Manchester City any credit, but my God, they bloody deserve it.
Yeah, they do. I mean, they epitome what Manchester United were for such a large period under Sir Alex Ferguson. Never giving up. The second the team, your opposition, backs off a little bit, you give us a sniff and they pounce. They're everything that United used to be, mate. It's honestly so upsetting to see. Can I say on the positive of Erik ten Hag, he reeks of being a nerd. He really does. I don't know if you got that vibe watching him. He's the biggest nerd out there. And he dead set looks to me the prototype of a Pep Guardiola, a carbon copy. He just seems to.
Obviously work together.
Yeah, of course they did at Bayern Munich, and he was under Pep's tutelage. But you can see in the way he plays, you can see it in his philosophy, the way he's already speaking about setting high demands of his players. Everything Pep Guardiola would say. So it'll be really interesting to watch the Bolchester derby next season to see who comes out on top.
Well, Dion here saying they deserve credit for cooking their books. That's about it. Well, yes, look, that is Manchester City. And look, I think that is why Man United fans are not so happy that City won it. But at the end of the day, it's yesterday's news tomorrow. Like, you won't even see a photo of Manchester City lifting a trophy. That's why Man United have put that interview out with Erik ten Hag today. That'll dominate the headlines. You won't see any articles about City win the league. It will be about Erik ten Hag, and that is the good thing about City winning the title, that it is yesterday's news. If Liverpool won it, obviously that would dominate the headlines. But do you know any City fans, Larry? Like, I genuinely don't. So it doesn't bother my day-to-day business sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I know one, and that's the thing. Like, it's so interesting that they have poured over £1 billion into that team, and £1 billion. What am I talking about? They've poured over £1 billion over about 15 years span, and despite all of that, their fan base, it's just not. It's just not there. You can't manufacture fans. You can't manufacture emotion, and that's the biggest thing. I think people globally fell in love with Manchester United because they stood for something. You can't manufacture that. And that's the thing. No matter how, if Manchester City in 50 years from now proved to be the most successful team in English history, it just won't feel the same because at the foundation of it, it's dirty oil money and it's sports washing. And people don't give a shit about that. That's just the reality of it.
Look, I completely agree, but we are here. Enough Manchester City talk. Congratulations for saving football, and thank you. But hopefully it is the red half of Manchester.
Hey, can I talk to you about Mbappe? It's just, I find it very interesting as a football fan. We're talking about oil money and corruption and the beauty of sport and football heritage. That deal that Mbappe has signed isn't not signing, like, for me, he dead set sold his soul to the devil. He's basically rubber stamped. I don't care about my football legacy anymore because I'm going to get paid a shitload of money.
Yes, but he would say, and look, even if he went to Real Madrid, even if he went to play in the J League or the Scottish League, he'd be set for future generations. I understand that. But at that level, if you can get more money, why not take it? I agree with it 100%, and it's a sad day for football because he could have gone to one of the great clubs in football and become one of the best players in the world. Now that's not a possibility doing that in France. But I can't sit here and say, don't take that money if it's offered to you. If someone is going to offer you that money, I will be critical, but deep down, who am I to be critical of that?
No, not for me. I seriously, like, I'm truthfully, if I imagine myself, and because the thing is, there has to be, like, you're earning that much money anyway.
That's part of the argument.
You get what I mean? Like, you will be wealthy no matter what you do.
Yeah.
Is that extra 100 million really going to change anything else you do with the rest of your life? It's not. He's like, it's an Elon Musk situation. He can buy everything he wants every day for the rest of his life, and he'll still have plenty left over. That's the issue for me. It wasn't life-defining, life-changing some amounts of money. Like, he had an opportunity to secure his legacy, to legitimately, I mean, the argument now is about Haaland and Mbappe. Who goes on to be the world's best? And I'm going to throw Pedri in that conversation from Barcelona. I love him. I think he's absolutely brilliant and has the potential to be in that conversation. But for me, he has removed himself from that argument because he's going to be 27 years of age, playing in the Farmers League, probably still chasing the Champions League, and everyone will, no matter what he'll say, there'll always be an asterisk next to his name.
Yeah, no, look, there is, from a football point of view, it's definitely a sad thing because, look, we sit here and say Manchester United's the biggest club in the world, which I agree with, but ultimately, if you're a Real Madrid fan or you have the argument that Real Madrid is, I'm not going to argue, really. Real Madrid is up there with Manchester United, and if they are bigger, they are bigger. So to turn down that for a couple extra £1 million when you're already going to be earning too many millions, it is a sad day for football, but it is what it is. And just sort of bringing it back to Manchester United and the football, a little bit earlier, Hell on Wheels here saying if Bruno is the answer, then Donny will get a rebirth under Erik ten Hag. Donny van der Beek did score a goal for Everton from memory from the highlights I did see last night. Just bringing it back into that Bruno Fernandes debate a little bit as we sort of tie it back into Ten Hag's interview.
That's another one. You're saying Juan Mata doesn't play. Van der Beek.
Yeah, well, okay, first game next season. Both are fit, both had sort of adequate pre-seasons. Who plays in the... I would think from what I've seen from Erik ten Hag, it will be, I think a lot of us have it in our mind, it'll be a 4-3-3. In my opinion, it's kind of a 4-2-3-1. I think there will be a 10. Donny van der Beek or Bruno Fernandes in Erik ten Hag's eyes?
I think both. If you actually... Donny played both under Ten Hag, and if you think of their successful run in the Champions League, I recall Donny actually playing like an 8 position. So I could definitely make an argument for both. I think Donny, if you ask me what's Donny van der Beek's best position, I actually think he is an 8. I don't think he's a 10 in the Premier League. I think the Premier League's just and look, maybe he's adapted in his time at Everton, but even at Everton, he's playing an 8. I think the way Donny plays, he's not the most physical player. And I know Bruno isn't either, but I think Bruno handles the physicality of football better. So I think Donny's an 8 if you're talking about English football. So I could definitely make an argument for both. And I'm so critical, how much did our play break down every time Fred got the ball yesterday? I just think
Dion's just trying to question here. What do you think of what do you think he made of it Fred yesterday?
They're woeful, a lot of them. Seriously, both of them.
It's one of those ones where the positions and I would say not the instruction they're given, but the roles they're both given, where they're given individually or they're given sort of as a pairing. I think that is something I really point, and look, they have to take responsibility when they get the ball. It's their decision on the ball. But that is where I do look at, we criticise Ralph Rangnick and his sort of ability as a manager when he came in. And I'm just thinking that is where the instruction they'll give, they weren't put in a position to play to their strengths. And Rob here saying McShit, which is what they do when they play together. But in regards to, a lot of people have Fred as our second best player this season behind De Gea and Ronaldo. And I'm just thinking, no, I don't have that there, but our 3-2-1s would potentially suggest that. And I'm just thinking they're not given, I would say, the platform to perform well because, I don't know, they have been paired together as this McFred pairing sort of thing, but it is not working. And one of them, I think, needs to be sacrificed.
We've seen both of them next to Matic at times this season, and even when they've been paired with Matic, they both look poor, and that's the problem. I think if you isolate them both, if you look at each player individually as an 8, I look, for me, it's interesting. I would tell you Fred's better, but I would opt for McTominay because I think while Fred might get you an assist or a goal or create something, he's equally as likely to help you concede something at the back. So I would probably go for McTominay. While not as creative, there's a trust, more of a trust, I suppose. But again, so limited on the ball. The pair of them, I just think, I said this to you, and I'm keen to see what you think. I wouldn't put either. There should never, unless there's an emergency situation in midfield, those two players shouldn't play together again. Shouldn't happen.
We've said that for play of the last year. Every time they play together in midfield and we lose a game, we say that's the end of McFred. We can't do it anymore. But ultimately, you go back to that trust statement you just brought up. Managers have to trust them, and wrongly so, because that's the lack of investment we have in midfield. Our best midfielder is going to Juventus for free. Sort of then the other one is retiring and going back to Serbia. Because of the issues our club find themselves off the field, we do have to rely on Fred and McTominay. Because we've all sat here and we said, okay, Paul Pogba, Scott McTominay, who's the better player? Obviously Scott McTominay, and you obviously as a big critic of Scott McTominay have sat here and agreed with me. Give one of them a contract. Who are you giving the contract to? You give it to Scott McTominay, and that's off the back of sort of poor decisions in the position we're currently in. Because we just had Bruno Fernandes put a post out saying, look, I take responsibility. I've been poor this season and the team's been poor this season. And a lot of us, if Harry Maguire did that, would criticise that statement. But if Bruno Fernandes puts that statement out, we sort of praise it and think, yes, well, because he gives his all, that's all we can ask for as a fan, regardless of the quality. All we can ask for is the effort. And Fred and McTominay do give that effort. And ultimately, that's not enough to sort of be successful, which is the next thing we demand as Man United fans. But they're not the answer, but they're the only answer the manager has at the moment, because he can't trust Pogba. He can't trust Nemanja Matic. Who else are you going to play in midfield? I'm generally Donny van der Beek is on loan. They've been put in a position to play a role which they shouldn't be playing at this level. We both sit here, and I sit here as one of Scott McTominay's biggest defenders. I will sit here and 100% agree he should be first. He shouldn't be starting for Manchester United. For Scott McTominay to have a great Manchester United career, it should be on the bench. However, at the moment, I'm demanding him to start, because what I'm seeing from other people in the starting lineup in different positions on the pitch, they're not giving their all. And I think Scott McTominay does that. That is why I do defend him. But ultimately, if we get everything right on and off the pitch, so that would put Scott McTominay or a Fred, whoever you sort of rank higher, as a squad player. And that is where Manchester United need to be, not relying on those two.
Put an Erik ten Hag lens on this. Obviously, a very technical coach, someone who really values possession and retaining the ball and being very tactical in terms of how the ball is used in the pitch and in different zones of the pitch. How do you see either of those players fitting into an Erik ten Hag system? That's where the intrigue is for me, because the biggest now, I can hear it. I understand it. I can understand a United fan saying, get rid of Harry Maguire. I understand that. I can see United fans saying, get rid of Marcus Rashford. I understand that. Bruno Fernandes, I understand that, given this season. But Bruno's got the ability. Rashford on his day, we've seen it get done. Fred and McTominay, two massive glaring holes in our midfield. And I think of Ten Hag football. This guy has had Frankie de Jong at his disposal. He's had the luxury of seeing the likes of Kimmich at Bayern Munich. He's had the luxury of seeing players like Thomas Muller. He's had the luxury of De Ligt, who even as a defender, brilliant on the ball. Donny van der Beek, who, despite his inconsistencies in the Premier League, very technical player. How does he look at a Fred and McTominay and trust them next season? Because now
you trust them as that squad player, because what it is, we have an issue now because we're seeing them every single week, and as a start and almost the main two midfielders, we're seeing all their deficiencies in their sort of ability on the ball. We see it every single week. However, if they're that one squad player, if everyone else is a De Jong or a Pogba and every other player in that midfield is world class, and the one time you need to bring in that squad player for a League Cup game or an FA Cup, or Bruno Fernandes is injured, you bring Scott McTominay or a Fred in for one game here or there, or you have to bring them off the bench at half time and have world class quality around them, and the system is working around, they can fit in. They can fit in and do a job. And suddenly, when their limitations aren't really highlighted as much as when you're depending on them to be our best midfielder. But when they come in for half an hour, or they come in for an FA Cup match against Middlesbrough, they can fit in. Okay, De Jong can provide the quality, McTominay or Fred can get it. They can pass it 2 yards to the quality number 10. But at the moment, we're demanding these two limited players to be our two starting midfielders. And that is, we can be critical because it's not good enough, but ultimately the club need to be better by providing the manager with better midfielders.
All right. In principle, I agree with you. But if you think of the type of... All right, so we're saying Erik ten Hag is a disciple of Pep Guardiola, right? If that's the case, I look at Pep Guardiola's midfields throughout his whole career. Xavi, Iniesta, who else has he had? Schweinsteiger, Kimmich, all these brilliant midfielders, Gundogan, Kevin De Bruyne, Fernandinho, Yaya Toure, all these brilliant technical players, Lionel Messi, and then he has Fred and McTominay. I don't know if I can even.
You're talking about that, and look, I completely agree. But we have to, like Erik ten Hag, he said, we have to accept the position we are in, and we have to accept the position we're in. You talked about these clubs who were challenging for Champions League titles. We here on the last day were challenging to get out of the Conference League to make a Europa League spot. That's the reality of the situation. So tomorrow we have to deal with having Scott McTominay and Fred in the team, and so that the manager has to deal with that situation. He's not in a situation where dealing with Xavi, Iniesta, Pedri, Lionel Messi, Bastian Schweinsteiger, Kimmich. That's not the job at the moment. The job now for the manager, until he's provided with better tools, is to get the best out of this, because it's one of the ones you can't run before you can walk.
Do you think you're going to laugh at me? We've got 79 people in here. Guys, make sure you're hitting a like on the video and get your opinions in on this, because I think this might strike a bit of controversy. I could honestly see he looks at someone like Andreas Pereira. He's going to see him score a worldie in training back on loan from Flamengo. And he's going to be like, you know what? I might have something to work with here, because he's a technical footballer. And he might think, I might be the manager to trust this guy. I might be the one he's got the ability. Can I get his brain ticking the right way?
It's what I came back to in terms of, we're all sitting here saying we're going to sell 10 players, or 10 players are going to leave, and all of us are saying, well, okay, we're going to bring 10 players in. But that's where I go back to say, well, that's simply not going to happen. One, for the budget, we're not going to have enough budget to bring in 10 players. So you do need to look within the squad, and that is where I look bias aside, and I understand it's probably the wrong decision, but that is where, well, one, Matt is already a player. Let's keep him around. But that is where you do have to look to the youth system. And a lot of us are looking to that youth system. Obviously, Charlie Savage was on the bench, but also one of the things is players on loan. And he's a forgotten man on loan, whether that be Anthony Martial as well. Severe, his situation when he comes back. But the big one there, you obviously do mention in Andreas Pereira. I make the case on here all the time. As a footballer, ability-wise, I've gone and watched him a few times live as well. He played out in Australia a few times. Not unbelievable footballer, but a quality footballer. Really good footballer. Just his brain doesn't quite work. Now, can Erik ten Hag train that brain in a short space of time to make him sort of contribute positively to Manchester United? That is a different debate. But that is where you do, as fans, and obviously the manager has to do it in a different context, but as fans, I think we do have to give everyone a clean slate in terms of performing under this new manager. Now, I think some of these players probably don't deserve a clean slate moving forward, not off the back of the performances, but off the back of the effort. I think that is where I really question. I don't want to bring it back into here in regards to a Marcus Rashford. However, I am giving Marcus Rashford one more chance, but ultimately off the back of his effort, which is all we demand as fans, that hasn't been there. And if it isn't there, if the effort isn't there, I really shouldn't be giving him a chance. But I find myself, because I do deep down do like Marcus Rashford, I will give him that chance. But that is where McTominay, who's potentially not good enough for Man United in terms of starting spot, Fred, who's not good enough, Andreas Pereira, who's not good enough, Anthony Elanga, who's not good enough. Whoever you want to go, Diego Dalot's not good enough, Alex Telles is not good enough. Ultimately, in my opinion, you do have to give them a clean slate under this new manager.
Oh, Alex Telles, well past a clean slate for me. He should be one of the first names out the door. He honestly should. Like, if we're being serious. Did you see his social media post-match? Alex Telles, he's like, I was reflecting on whether this was a good season or not. What is there to reflect on, mate? It's been shit, and you've been shit too. And then he's like, I'm so happy to hit 50 games for this club. Mate, it's 50 and you're going to stop and finish there. Please, the door.
I think Erik ten Hag likes Alex Telles more than he does Luke Shaw.
I'm not. I don't think so. Man, Telles is awful.
I think he's better than Luke Shaw. Well, no, not better. It depends who's playing better. It's the old Andreas Pereira debate. But I think Erik ten Hag will see a little bit more in Alex Telles than Luke Shaw, but time will tell. And obviously pre-season, the last couple of pre-seasons, in my opinion, have been quite boring in terms. Well, every pre-season is boring in terms of the football, but it's the same old story. Okay, we'll do whatever. But this one, maybe it's because it's on our back door here in Australia. We're obviously present for a bit of the pre-season, but obviously with this buzz and excitement going on, I'm never excited for pre-season matches, but I do find myself looking forward to the sort of, I don't know what to call it, the journey sort of starting, but there is a buzz. And I sort of started this a couple of weeks ago saying I'm not excited. I think ultimately Erik ten Hag will fail because he'll run into the same hurdles every other manager has faced at Manchester United. But I said the moment he does his first interview, I'll be falling in love and I'll say we're going to win the Champions League, even though we're not in the bloody Champions League. And ultimately I have fallen victim to that. I've fallen in love with the words that he has said, and obviously his press conference will be out soon. and I'm sure we'll win in title 21 and sort of add into our treble. But it's an emotional 24 hours for me, roller coaster of emotions, that's for sure.
All right, Tom, we're obviously going to be in Melbourne. I want you to tell me, we're at Crown Casino, you and Ten Hag have a moment. What happens? Do you make eye contact? Do you rub heads? How do bald people react around each other? Is there like a mutual respect?
I'm sure not just me, well, not just be rubbing heads with him, but obviously the assistant manager, or is he the assistant coach, Van der Gaag, or forget his name?
Mitchell Van der Gaag, yeah.
Mitchell Van der Gaag. What do you think of this flag, though? I've redone the flag. This will be flying high in Melbourne. I'll just get it up here. What do we think of this one?
Oh, I like it.
So when Erik ten Hag sees that, he'll probably come running to me rather than me going running to him, I think.
Yeah, the Kiwis, for those who aren't from New Zealand, how the Kiwis go nose to nose? I wonder if Baldies go head to head. Can you do that for me? If we're in Melbourne and we get a moment with Ten Hag, we're hopeful of getting some access. I want you to please just let me get that intimate, bold, beautiful moment.
As long as it's not a Billy Sharp style headbutt in regards to what happened at Sheffield United the other day, I'll be a little bit more gentle. But obviously there was another incident at Manchester City, not as violent in regards to as the Patrick Vieira or Billy Sharp incident, but obviously the Manchester City fans did run onto the field and did make one or two bits of contact with the Aston Villa goalkeeper. And that's sort of, I don't want to bring that back into it. We obviously stay on the Erik ten Hag train at the moment, but what do you make of that? Because it's starting to, the way Sky are reporting it, they're starting to sort of say this is a real, and it is, but it's sort of starting to creep into the game now in terms of these pitch invasions and potential sort of dangerous situations for the players.
I don't know. It's a tricky one, I don't really think I read too much into it. I don't have fans running onto the pitch has been happening for years. If you follow the championship, anytime a team's getting promoted, it's the first thing the fans do. They're running onto the pitch. It hasn't really been seen in the Premier League, and that's what's been happening as of late. For sure, I mean, it's a really difficult one, because I think of the Everton fans. Obviously, you're thinking you're going to be going down. You're probably having those nights in bed where you're starting to process it, and then suddenly you're safe. And sometimes emotion kicks in, and there's a beauty to that. I think we saw it here in Australia in the AFL. I can't recall which player it was, Sydney Swans. All the fans ran on and threw the player on their shoulders, and they kind of did a big parade with him, and he lapped it up. And I think that there's a beauty of, because the problem I have with football at the moment, particularly in England, these big clubs are so disconnected from the fans, and I just think if you have an opportunity to do that in the right way and a safe way, which I know is so difficult when you're talking about tens of thousands of people, literally, but if there's a way to do it safely, I'm all for it, because the euphoric scenes and the moment for the fan, like imagine if you're there when United win the 21st, given the drought we've experienced over the last 9 years. I could imagine Old Trafford being invaded by the fans. It'd be beautiful if it's safe, of course.
Yeah. Oh, no, look, it's definitely a debate to be had in future episodes, but Jabulani here saying they need to do a player trade between Nkunku and Bruno Fernandes, which I'm sure we'll be doing plenty of transfer shows in the coming days. It does look like this Timber deal is potentially one that could get over the line. Adam here from Sydney saying, any news on current or ex-player meetups when we do go to Melbourne? Nothing confirmed yet, but we are working hard. So if you are travelling down to Melbourne and you are from Sydney, if you want to join the Man United Supporters Club of New South Wales, the link is in the description below. We'll obviously be doing plenty of sort of meetups, hopefully a big one with a couple of ex-legends. We obviously don't know which ones are going to come out at the moment, but you assume it's your sort of Andy Cole and Brian Robson, Dennis Irwin, sort of things, which is always a great night. Larry and I will obviously be there. We'll be there obviously with a few guys from Stratford Paddock as well. They're making the trip out. And just before we wrap up, if you are in the live chat, as I said, please do leave a like on the video. That'd be great. If you could subscribe, if you're new, that'd make Larry and I very happy. And if you do have any just sort of one or two questions to wrap up the podcast, throw them in the live chat and we'll answer them before we do wrap up. But Larry, on that, any football or anything back on Ten Hag in regards to the interview? It was over an hour ago. Any sort of sound bites? Obviously, there will be maybe one or two more in the press conference, but any other sort of statements or words that spring to mind in regards to what he said?
Maybe this is just the nerd in me. What will be interesting, I know Adam Stevenhausen's not coming on tour. What will be interesting to me will be he really spoke about the psychology a little bit. The part that I really, I guess, got embedded into was he mentioned.
Larry's breaking up there, and he just brought up a point, so I'll just kick Larry out, and if you can come back in, but we're just about to wrap up anyway, so, or you might be back with us, Larry. I'll just remove you, or just kick yourself out, and come back in when you're good. But one thing he did bring up there in regards to the psychology, I go back to the start of the season, and there was the issue the excitement, when Rafael Varane came onto the pitch, how excited that was. We smashed Leeds. Bruno Fernandes scored a hat-trick. The next day, we signed Cristiano Ronaldo, or the next couple of weeks, we signed Cristiano Ronaldo. Such a buzz where I think we're near the top of the table. All this excitement going forward. And then you fast forward to the end of the season, Larry, if you're still with us, your picture's a little bit grainy, but hopefully you can hear me. You fast forward to the end of the season, and the position we find ourselves in regards to Chris Armas is on the bench with his AirPods in. He's not listening to anyone in the director's box or high up in the grandstand. He's listening to Ralph Rangnick's mate who lives in Russia, getting tactical advice during the game from a guy who lives in Russia. And I'm just thinking, if you would have said that at the start of the season when Rafael Varane was holding the shirt in the centre circle, that our assistant manager would be talking on the phone to a guy in Russia during matches, an American talking to a German in Russia, I never would have picked that. He does look like he has frozen, Larry, but it's just about time we do wrap up anyway. But so thank you, Larry, for joining us. I really enjoyed that chat as always. And obviously everyone in the live chat, we do appreciate all the interaction. Obviously, as I said, very emotional day for Manchester United. Obviously the poor football, but Manchester City saving it for us in regards to us sort of remaining or keeping our treble over Liverpool. That was good. Obviously, we do hope Real Madrid do sort of get the job done, and this greatest ever Liverpool side finishes the league with the League Cup and FA Cup with no sort of proper trophy. Fingers crossed that is the case. But yeah, we can only look forward. Obviously, the Erik ten Hag interview is good. His press conference, I'm assuming, will be done shortly, and obviously part 2 of that interview. Give Larry one more chance to say goodbye to our listeners. You there, mate?
Yeah, can we hear me?
He's good. He's good. He's returned for the goodbye.
Oh, I'm alive and well. To echo Tom's thoughts, we're down to 1,000 subscribers, so make.
And he's failed in that goodbye. Hopefully it's not just my end, but he has sort of cut out a little bit. But I'm sure I echo his thoughts of sort of very much appreciating everyone joining us. As I said, please do leave a like on the video if you are happy Erik ten Hag has taken over. Also, smash a like if you are happy that the season has finished, because I am definitely happy that the season is over and we can look forward. If you are new, please subscribe. And Larry and I will be back. What's today? Monday. We'll be back probably the next day or two when a bit of transfer news breaks, probably. Hopefully, maybe it's the Timber news. But until then, everyone have a good couple of days, and we'll chat to you when we chat to you. Cheers.